TQ40482115E9. Distress. My unit has suffered immense casualties on LV-426 and requests immediate assistance aboard the USS Sulaco. Of the survivors, myself, 2 human females, one of which is a child, and a damaged synthetic. Consider all Colonial Marines dispatched to LV-426 to be KIA. Repeat, all Marines dispatched to LV-426 were KIA.
Aliens Colonial Marines opens 17 weeks after the events that occur in Aliens. Corporal Hicks managed to send out a distress call just before going to stasis, and you are a Marine in one of the units sent to investigate exactly what happened on the Sulaco. Your unit is the last to be awakened upon arrival at the Sulaco, which is orbiting LV-426, having mysteriously moved from Fiorina 161. Your mission is to rescue the units that have already been sent on board and have been attacked by an unknown enemy. It isn't long before the unknown enemy is revealed to be the Xenomorphs, and everything goes awry. Nearly all of the Marines have been captured and impregnated, with only a handful remaining alive. When you do manage to reunite with the survivors and try to evacuate to your ship, things just get worse and you end up stuck aboard the Sulaco with both Xenomorphs and Weyland-Yutani troops trying to stop you. When you do finally manage to escape the Sulaco, things just go from bad to worse as you crash land on LV-426 not too far from Hadley's Hope. You must continue your mission through the former settlement to escape the Xenomorphs and discover what Weyland-Yutani are up to. On its own, that sounds like a fairly standard plot for the Alien franchise. Unprepared Marines run face first into a firefight with the Xenomorphs to find they're outmatched by them, coupled with the Weyland-Yutani conspiracy. The problems here are that the details of the plot don't make any sense, and the plot is presented in a really awkward way that makes it hard to follow at times. For example, the Sulaco orbiting LV-426 isn't explained till about an hour before the game finishes, at which point you've pretty much forgotten about it anyway. No one seems particularly surprised when they first run into Xenomorphs either, when at this point it should still only be Ripley and Weyland-Yutani that have any knowledge of them. It also makes little sense that Weyland-Yutani would mobilise its private arm against the United States Marines. A character in the game even states they're declaring war on the US. Weyland-Yutani's motivation towards the Xenomorphs has always been to turn them into a biological weapon with intent to sell. This would be pretty difficult to do if they're at war with the US. Okay, so they could sell them to the US as enemies, but then that's declaration of war in itself. But I'm getting sidetracked now. The worst part of the plot is a twist that occurs about 3/4 of the way through. I won't spoil what this twist is, but it elicited this text message to be sent to a friend of mine who was playing through the game at the same time. Couple this with a lack of any form of character development, and you don't have a true sequel to Aliens, just what feels more like bad fanfic with a game wrapped around it.
Get us out of here! Will everyone shut the hell up? Raider 6-5, lost engine 2 and I'm in a wash. Sounding a mayday. Raider 6-5 going down. Repeat, Raider 6-5 going down.
At least we have the gameplay of Aliens Colonial Marines to fall back on and rescue the project, right? Wrong. The gameplay is mediocre at best. For starters, there's no sense of tension or atmosphere present at all. Rather than taking its time and building up to the first Xenomorph encounter, you run into one within about 5 minutes of playing, and by the next room you're starting to fight swarms of the things. Add to this that each fight is just a case of kill everything in the room and then move to the objective to continue. It could have been so much better if you were just given the option of trying to deal with the objective during the fight, rather than it being the continue game button. I appreciate this is based on Aliens rather than Alien, so it's more of an action movie base, but Alien still has an incredible atmosphere to it. In Aliens you don't see any Xenomorphs for the first 20 minutes, and even then it's just facehuggers. I know you can't compare movie narrative to video game narrative directly, but the basic principle still applies. This only gets worse when you start to fight human enemies from the second chapter onwards, when the game essentially becomes Call of Duty Colonial Marines instead. The Xenomorphs are about the only thing that was stopping the game from being the standard FPS companies keep repackaging at the moment, and as soon as they leave the field it gets boring real fast. Actually fighting against the enemies isn't much of a challenge either. The human enemies are fairly standard hide behind box style fights, and the Xenomorphs only require one of two strategies. Either shoot them from afar while they stand still and let you, or melee them once up close and then shotgun to the face. But Xenomorphs have acid for blood, I hear you say. Not in this game they don't. If you kill one right on top of you, then you do get a sizzling sound and an icon appears on the HUD to imply you're taking damage, but nothing really happens. It's so non-existent in game that if it weren't for the movies I don't think I'd even know they had acid for blood. This simplicity of tactics required to kill a xenomorph meant that in three-way fights between myself, Weyland-Yutani and the Xenos, I'd usually actually take the humans out first as they were more of a threat to me. I think that alone shows a severe lack of understanding how this game should have worked.
Yo, why you looking at me like that?
Tell her.
Tell me what?
What the hell is going on?
When you woke with the xenomorph on your face.
I told you, it was dead. There's nothing wrong with me.
Did its exterior resemble bones, white in color, almost like a spider with a tail?
Yeah, my throat hurt a little, but I'm fine.
Bella, you're gonna die.
How do we know that?
It happened to Keys.
The biggest issue with Aliens Colonial Marines is that it could have been great. Some areas showed promise, but then they just dropped the ball with shoddy execution. The worst example of this is probably the sewer level we've all seen so many times in the GIFs and fail videos. When you first enter the sewer, you have no weapons or equipment, it's dark, there are xenomorph husks all over the place, and you can hear creatures moving around in the distance. It wouldn't have been hard to make this section genuinely terrifying, and one of the most memorable parts of the game, but instead, due to goofy character models and dodgy AI meaning you can walk right into the Xenos and they just stand still and they ignore you, it loses all sense of seriousness and becomes laughable. It will still be one of the most memorable sections of Colonial Marines, but not for the right reasons. There's also quite a large issue with the scripting for the game, in so much as I found the first objective I was going towards tripped when I was in the wrong area. A Marine was asking me to cut him down and I had no idea where he was until I wandered around a couple of corners to see him. This is also apparent in some of the dialogue your squad mates shout out, as they would quite often tell me to look up when the enemy was underneath me, or scream "weapons hot, fire" when there's nothing at all in the area.
Don't let any of them reach the alarm!
We don't alert every
Weapons
Xeno
hot,
away, you
fire!
bastard, within a mile of here.
I think the thing that bothered me the most though was one very small aspect of the game that just ruined it, and this was the motion tracker. You can bring the motion tracker up at any point, and much like in the original Alien, this can create a bit of tension, the slow thump when there's nothing nearby, and the sudden high-pitched beep as something unknown approaches. The problem is there's never any need to use the motion tracker, as it automatically beeps as soon as an enemy comes into range. This changes the motion tracker from being a necessary tool to something you can just choose to use if you want to pretend like it's one of the movies. The automatic beep removes any kind of surprise from the game as well, as instead of wondering what lies ahead, you just hear and you know there's an enemy behind the next door. As I said though, that really is just a small aspect of the game, and the glitchy nature, dumb AI, missing animations all go in to make a game that just feels like it was kicked out the door before it was ready. It almost has a feeling like Duke Nukem Forever to it, in that nearly everything just feels unfinished. It's not quite as bad as Duke Nukem Forever, just reminiscent of it. So, was Aliens Colonial Marines worth it? Currently being priced around £40, I'd have to say no. It might be worth spending about £10 on out of morbid curiosity, but that's it. A 6-hour campaign with no story, multiple glitches, missing animations, and so much missed opportunity is all we have here, not a true sequel to Aliens as promised. Well, that was my review for Aliens Colonial Marines, so thank you for watching. Please leave a comment below to say if you agree or disagree with any points, or if there are any parts in particular that you liked or disliked about the game. If you enjoyed my review, please press like and subscribe if you'd like to see more in the future.